The BMW i3 first appeared back in 2013. Now back in 2011, BMW developed a sub-brand known as i, and it was for electrical and hybrid vehicles. This is the i3s. Welcome to Planet Auto. First things first, Annabelle is not here. She's kind of migrained out, which isn't particularly great for her, but it means that I can actually point out some of the styling on the car that I've not done for yonks. Anyway, the i3. Now, yeah, this is the i3s, and it's not changed very much since the first one, which was 2013. It's quite a while ago, isn't it, considering it's an electric car, and it was BMW's first electric car as well. Iconic kidney grille. Yes, no actual grille, but it doesn't need the cooling because it's electric. Now, the thing about the latest i3s is they're completely different to the earlier ones. For example, the first ones had about an 80-mile range. You can also get a Rex as well, which meant that you had a range extender that was a combustion engine that ran and charged your battery. It didn't actually propel the vehicle, it just charged the car. Now, as this is the i3s, this is actually about 190 miles of range. It's 10mm lower, it's 40mm wide tracked, and it has a sport mode as well. And not just that, you have a 125 kilowatt electric motor in the i3, and in the i3s you have a 135. It's the epitome of cutesy yet aggressive. Just look at these canards. I'm sure that's duck in French, but you know what I mean. You get LED lights. You can also get a rather advanced LED light as well, which gives the beam, does all types of things to not dazzle cars coming towards you. Perfect. Lots of safety on it as well, including adaptive cruise control. The colour scheme just works to me, it really does. The combo of the red and the black. The other thing about the i3 is what metal? The body's actually a carbon fibre polymer, and you can actually see it. Now, the i3s isn't the most affordable car in the world, but it is worth the money. I've had so much fun in it over the last few days. This one's about £44,000, but it's got things like active cruise control, 20-inch wheels, which look absolutely out of this world on a car this size. Just look at things like the body lines, thin window here. It's so cool. You'll also notice an abundance of blue accents on this car. You've got reversing camera, you've got LED lights, and sporty spoiler as well. The thing about the i3 is it was such a unique car. It looked like no other BMW ever. It's also got a decent ride height as well. Just look at the flowing skirts. Oh, back on the styling. Now, the first thing that stands out to me is this. It's quite an interesting texture. But the likelihood is this is from recycled materials, which means that that's what they're trying to reflect in the interior. Now, getting in, nice and easy. Decent headroom, decent legroom as well. 2-pedal system, and look at this. This is actually where you put it into gear. If you look down here, because there's no transmission tunnel, this is completely empty. Also, you've got a large area here. I feel a bit like a Bond villain in here. And I think it's down to the fact that this is just so, well, it doesn't look like any car I've ever driven ever before. I mean, yeah, the veneer style reminds me of Tesla, and the tombstones remind me of Porsche, but everything else, I suppose, is kind of unique. Well, we all know that I love my stereos, and this has a Harman Kardon system, so yes, it can bang bass with the best of them. Decent infotainment screen here, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, also satellite navigation, and as it's an electrical vehicle, it'll route you through to charges. You can also see lots of other information in there as well. This is what you will all approve of. So many people on our channel want knobs, twisty things, and buttons. So no haptic sensors, just real buttons. So you can adjust your volume, and you can adjust your climate control, air conditioning, and that's got a digital readout there as well. And if you want to disable parking sensors, etc., you press that. Now, I did touch on the tombstones, and to be honest, they're very comfortable. You've got a great driving position, the seats are manual, they're finished in premium materials, and They may not be the bucketiest of things, but even when I was getting on some spirited driving the other day near Ullswater, I didn't slide out my seat at all, and I was really pushing it. As I mentioned before, the i3s has a sport mode, whereas the standard does not. You also have Comfort, Eco Pro and Eco Pro Plus, Super, something or other. Something really, really economical. You also operate your media control system with this spinny dial here. Media, comm, menus and whatever else. Electronic handbrake, decent cup holder as well. And, whoa, that's a pretty big door bin. It's just good. Everything about this vehicle is, well, it's premium. It does feel a bit different to, say, an X5, but the combination of fabric, this covered armrest, it's just good. Nice leather wrapped steering wheel. Press start here. Really easy to read. Literally you've got miles per hour on the right, and on the left hand side you've got like your charge bar. And if I press the end of here, I can see lots of information as well. For example, things like kilowatt per hour and how much energy I'm actually using. And look, grab handle here and above the passenger side. This has leisure doors, or another door that begins with an S that you can't really use in today's world. Ta-da! Gives you all the access you'll ever need. Just look at this, shiny. And because there's no pillar there, this is where the seatbelt is. Getting in. Nice. It's comfortable, and I'm set at a lavish 6'3". Looking at it, I've been a bit too greedy. I could quite easily put the seat another half a foot forward. Ooh, what's this? Coat hook, no grab handle, and to close it, it's quite easy. You just literally, and there you go. It's nice and comfortable, premium materials, and there's no pull down armrest, but you do have cup holders sunk into this section, which is really cool. Isofix points, and it's a bit recessed here. Doesn't really work for me because they don't fit, but I can see what they were getting at. Nice padded armrest. One thing that is missing is a door pocket. And the thing I was messing with before, if you pull it in properly and then push forward, that's what it does. So it just makes it a bit easier to get in the back. Not that it's hard anyway. Decent room down here, and no transmission tunnel to speak of. So you could put some storage there. Now, the one thing I have noticed is I can't really get my feet under the front seats. I can in these Converse, but anything else and it'd be a bit of a squish. But overall, it's nice and comfortable. I've got, in a word, ample headroom, so I do need to sink a bit further down in the back. And then if I lean right back, it will brush. But the bottom line is, this is a city car. I do like the way that the armrest starts here, so it means that you're comfortable throughout. It's light and airy, and even with the privacy glass, it's quite a big window. So, as a passenger, it's pretty good. Airbags throughout the vehicle, and there's nothing in the centre. Would have been nice to see some USBs, maybe even a vent. Now, I'm not really teaching grandma to suck eggs, but as you can see, it's a 4-seater. Be under no misapprehensions that this is a 5-seater, because it just isn't. Now that's a satisfying clunk. I do like this one-piece back. Oops, should be talking about the actual interior of the boot, shouldn't I? Okay, it's not the biggest boot in the world, but realistically you'll get your shopping in there. Tethering hooks, and look, no load lip either. You've got your Type 2 cable there, and haversack. Must be nightmare. Warrior, choose your bag. First aid kit here with the strappy thing. Decent size, drop the seats, increases, and realistically you get a mountain bike in there with both wheels off. And as this is an electric car, this is where you charge it. And this is Type 2 and rapid charge. And it also has a frunk. Now I knew damn well this opened, so I started scouring everywhere and I could not find a lever anywhere. And then I just happened to look at the key and there it is. So there you go. In case you're wondering how to open the frunk. Ooh, that's light. Storage area here, warning triangle, inflation kit, and that's where you top up your wiper fluid. Now you'll notice on most electric cars, when you open the bonnet, you'll see things like electric motors. Well, because this is rear-wheel drive, that's all at the back. Welcome aboard the BMW i3s. Under the bonnet, we've got an electric motor, which is 135 kilowatts. Now, if we went for the i3, we get 125 kilowatts. And yes, that 10 kilowatts does make a difference. Let's put it in sport and floor it. And as you can see, we get up to national speed rather rapidly. And I can feel the regen as well. I suppose the first thing you have to ask yourself is, why would you get the i3s over the i3? Well, looks for a start, and the other reason for me is it's got a sport mode, and that is what makes it extremely fun. I've read lots of little reviews on it, and they mention that it has flighty steering, and to be honest, it's pretty damn accurate, because it reacts so fast, yet it still manages to duck and dive because of obviously the height of the vehicle, and it's like dimensions. So let's face it, it's not really squat, is it, like say a Honda E? So you'd expect it to be a bit lumbering when it's going around bends, and it doesn't. Basically, it's extremely well planted because of the batteries. It just makes any EV feel like it's glued to the road. It's got one gear, literally. Foot down and it'll do 99 miles an hour. Very little body roll, unless you're deciding that it's a good idea to wheel it's a bit wide. Unless you're really hammering it into bends. But the suspension still has enough movement to give it a comfortable ride. So it's not like, say, a Zara Picasso where it's like a jelly mould, but it's not like, say, an FK8 where it's literally no movement. It's a happy balance. Nice direct steering, good feedback, and the thing I have noticed about this is it's rather economical, even in sport. The only time I did notice it deplete a fair few miles is when I got to motorway speeds. Plus you can recoup left, right and centre as well. You've only one regen setting, and it's literally, no matter what mode you're in, you just back off and you can feel it slowly pull the car to a halt. Down here I've got my driving modes, so I've got Sport, Eco Pro, Comfort, and I think there's an Eco Pro Plus. If you're in Eco Pro Plus, if you drop into that, say on a motorway, you will notice a serious drop in power, so just be aware of that. Every time you change into a different driving mode, the range will change according to how and things you're going to do for mileage. Obviously, it's evaluating how you're driving too. If I press the button on the end of the stalk, I can see we've got 35% of battery. So we're getting 3.4 miles per kilowatt. And if we put it on the instant, if I travel at this, that's showing me 19.9 miles per kilowatt. Now this one's a touch faster than the i3, meaning it'll pull 0 to 60 in about 6.7. But it's 0 to 30 that does this. I mean, if you put it in sport and then just hit floor it, it's just ridiculous. I can look in my screen and I can see lots of information as well. It shows me things like charges, it shows me what my eDrive's doing, and yes, on that note, there's an eDrive button here as well. Plus it's nice and easy to read. On the left, charge, on the right, e-power. So when it's lit on the e-charge side, it means you're recouping, and when e-power's illuminated, depending on how far up the bar it is, it shows how much you've got your foot down. Good brakes, discs all around, and electronic handbrake down here as well. Now the thing you ask yourself about an electric car is, has it got enough power? Has it got enough range to do what I need to do? On a full charge to 180, and you can recoup left, right and centre as well. You've got great visibility. There's no blind spots, even with this centre section, which is quite chunky. Lots of safety on the car, collision detection, AEB, that kind of thing. And also I've got adaptive cruise control, and it's a nice responsive system, very easy to operate. Buttons on the steering wheel. We've also got lane keep assist as well. As you know, this will be a 1-speed transmission, but you engage it by spinning this, and you've got drive, neutral, and reverse. On an A road, it gets up to 60 very quickly. From, I think it's 40 to 70, it takes 4 or 5 seconds. So you've got power when you need it, and that kind of zapping it either doesn't really deplete your range, which is good to know. The turning circle it's spectacular. You can turn it around into something like a 50p piece. Now, I did touch on the driving modes. When you put it in sport, you actually feel the electric motor. It's almost like it drops a gear. It just kind of, I don't know, does something and makes it feel like Also, if you put it in comfort, it will soften out the shocks too, and it makes quite a difference. The lights are very good. You've got bad weather lights on this as well, which means they're sharper and more focused than the previous ones. It's so nimble, agile. But with it, because it's rear wheel drive, you can also have some fun with it as well. So if you're daring enough, you can actually kick the back out a little bit. I mean, the fact that it's been 40mm wide tracked, that's the kind of thing you do in a Mark II Golf. So it'll handle better. And it's also 10mm lower as well. So it just feels better. It's well poised. It doesn't feel low per se, but it just feels like it'll take anything you throw at it. Now, when we set off before, we had 49 miles. I've done about 5 miles, and I've got 47 miles. That's how efficient this car is. If you put your foot down, it won't wheel spin. It'll just dig its heels in. Torque for hills? Well, not a problem. And it has 182 brake horsepower. Realistically, if you take this into the city, you're going to be getting more like 220, I would expect. The thing about an electric car and its regen is 9 times out of 10, you don't actually need to brake. You can literally just take your foot off the accelerator and it'll scrub off enough of the speed. You can corner happily and you can stay away from cars in front. Road noise. That's an interesting one in EV. Because you've got no combustion engine, you would think you would hear every mortal thing. And you don't. You hear a little bit of tyre noise, but it's not excessive. I've come to the conclusion this car must be very, very well insulated. Yeah, it's a very fun car.